Good day everyone, you're welcome back to the channel. This is Uglo Fashion and thank you so much for stopping by. So I came across this style. It's a drawstring cowl kaftan gown with keyhole and I decided to make it for myself and also share the making with you. So please stay tuned and enjoy the tutorial. It's well detailed, it's beginner friendly. Please like and share the video, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. The fabric I'll be using for this tutorial class is Duchess fabric and it's just 2.5 yards. So before you buy your fabric, ensure to measure from the middle of your back neckline to the length of your desired sleeve length or your wrist. This will give you clue of the yards to buy. But I think regardless of your size, you can't use more than 3 yards or 3.5 yards. To start with, fold the fabric into 2 equal sides, that is, ensure the 2 edges align well. Then after that, fold the joint side on the open parts or edges, but let the open edges be 1 inch wider than the joint side. By so doing, you now have 4 foldings in total. Then confirm well whether the 1 inch you left is 1 inch. Ensure it's not more than 1 inch. After doing that, the next thing is to iron it out. After ironing, note that the folded side serves as the back while the open part with extra 1 inch is the front bodice. Measure from the middle of the back to the sleeve length. I mean your desired sleeve length. Like mine is 19 inches. Mark that point and add allowance of 1 inch for seam. Ensure to start measurement from the folded part, which is the back, not the part that has extra 1 inch allowance. Then after that, measure 3 inches for the neckline width, and at the sleeve length, mark 2 inches down and connect it back to the neckline for the shoulder slope, as you can see. Then after doing that, I went ahead to measure shoulder to under bust. My shoulder to under bust is 13 inches. Shoulder to hip point, that's 24 inches. I measure shoulder to gown length, that's 58 inches. Those are the parts that we'll need for this tutorial. And also, I ruled everything out. After ruling everything out, I use the hip circumference all through. That is, I use the hip circumference for the under bust. That's the measurement I use for the circumference of the under bust. The same thing I use for the hip itself, and I also still use the same measurement for the hem. The reason for using that measurement is because of the keyhole. You know the gown has keyhole, so the measurement will give me extra allowance at the side. That's why I use the hip allowance all through, and I connected the lines, so that will give me a straight line. I later went back to the hem and I added 3 inches allowance. The 3 inches, 2 inches for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. And later went back to the sleeve side. I measured the circumference of the sleeve, that's 12 inches divided by 2, that's 6 inches, and I added 3 inches allowance as well because the sleeve is not tight. Then went ahead to connect the hem to the sleeve and cut it out. After connecting, I went ahead to cut everything out, both the shoulder side and the bodies. And the next thing, I measured the neckline. So for the neckline, I used 3 inches for the width, then 1 inch for the length. That's because both front and back are still together, so I will be using the same measurement for now. Then I will readjust the front later. Having done with that, I notched the 1 inch out. The next step is to create the keyhole. The keyhole is at the under bust, as you can see in the thumbnail. The keyhole is at the under bust, and I marked 1 inch for the width of the keyhole and 2.5 inches for the length, and created a hole with that. I tried to make a hole out of the 1 inch and 2.5 inch. I don't want the hole to be too big. Having done with that, I separated the back from the front bodies and remeasured the neckline of the front like I measured earlier. So this also depends on you. It's your choice. It's how you want it. Yes, it actually depends on you. If you want yours to show your cleavage, if you want it longer than that, you can use more than the inches I use. I actually use 6.5 inches for my neckline, and I just slant it back to the neckline just to give me a V shape. But before cutting it out, I rechalked the 1 inch allowance and then cut the neckline. Then I went ahead to the machine to stitch the 1 inch. This 1 inch at this front is for the casing of the string. You know, it has a drawstring, so the 1 inch is for the casing of the string. So I also ironed it open, an iron 1/4 of an inch at the edge, and stitched it. So after I ironed the 1/4 of an inch, I stitched it in. That is for the casing, like I said earlier. So after that, the next step is to cut the facing for the neckline of the front. And I went ahead to cut that out. I added interface to the facing and ironed both the interface and the facing together. Also, I ironed 1/4 of an inch in all through the edges. That is because I'll be using hemming gum for the finishing. If you like, you can weave the edges, but I ironed mine in because I'll still be using hemming gum for the finishing. I also cut for the back as well. The facing, I cut for the back, and I secure it with pin and stitch the facing and the bodice together. I proceeded to make the rope or string. For the string, I used 1.5 inches for the width and 40 inches for the length. You can use more than that. You can use 40 to 45, but let it not be more than 45 inches. And I went ahead to fold it together on each other. I mean the string. And I went ahead to pass the rope inside the casing and tie a knot at the end. Or you can secure it with pin if you don't want to tie it. Having done with that, I went ahead to pin the facing to the neckline and move to the machine to stitch it. I pinned it all through. This will make it easy for me. After stitching, I placed the back and front bodies on the table for you to see what it looks like, and went ahead to pin the back and front shoulders together. This is how to go about it. You fold them inside each other just like you see me do. So after pinning, I went ahead to stitch them together and also hem the interface, also hem the facing with hemming gum. So in case you don't know what hemming gum looks like, this is hemming gum. Just place it under your whatever you want to gum and iron on it with a stick. The next step is to stitch the keyhole. So for the keyhole, I ironed 1/4 of an inch in all round, then turned the bodies to the front and pinned in 1/4 of an inch of both back and front bodies together at the wrong side. This is what it looks like after pinning. I went ahead to the machine to stitch on it, and now we have our keyhole. You can see I've ironed it already. I then moved to the sleeve. I folded the sleeve this way. I folded it twice. I folded the sleeve twice. And I went ahead to stitch on it. Then I stitched the bodies all around as well. So now our drawstring cowl kaftan gown is ready. You can see how lovely it is already. So thank you very much for watching this video to the end. I also made a belt alongside with it. And please, if you haven't subscribed, do so. See you in my next video. Bye.